Hello, darlings. Goldie Goldstein here. We're live in the studio, and we're just starting the stream. We're just wading into the stream, as it were. So come on in and settle down. We're getting everything organized here. And I hope everybody is finding their way all the way in from the kitchen. I know everyone's traveling a long way to get here tonight. Some people are coming from the kitchen, and some people are coming from the living room. So we're going to give it a few minutes and just let everybody settle in and settle down. It's a little tricky sometimes going live. You know, it's like waking your spouse up, you know what I'm saying, when they've been sleeping for hours. It's like waking the dead, darlings. But tonight we're just waking the live. And I welcome you here. This is Goldie Goldstein, live in the studio. That's what we call the living room these days. Every room in the house used to have a different name. But if you've been watching late night TV, all my comrades and colleagues, every room in the house now is a studio. People have a living room, it's now the studio. People have the garage, it's now the studio. I don't think I've seen the bathroom yet, darling. But you see that on Zoom a lot. If you've been doing the Zoom webcam things, people are carrying their computers into the bathroom, not realizing the camera's still on. So hopefully that won't happen tonight. I'm going to try and pay very close attention to what's going on in the situation. It is April 4th, and we are holding forth on April 4th. Here in Astoria, Queens, I would just like to say a big shout out to all the queens and queens and everybody in quarantine. It's a very unusual situation that everybody is a captive audience in a certain sense. And I know people have been deluged by the amount of things on screen these days, because most things are happening on screen, either the television or the computer or the phone. There's a lot going on in town. I hope everybody's doing well. I want to send you my blessings, and to all you and all your family and all your friends. I hope you're all safe and sound, and everybody that you know, because we all know a lot of people, darlings. So this is a broadcast. I call it a good-looking broadcast. That the intention of it is to bring a little levity to an otherwise unleavened situation, if you know what I'm saying. This situation is very unleavened and a little bit heavy, and there's a lot of heavy stuff going on. So we're here to lighten it up, and we're here to have a little camaraderie and a little configuration. And we're going to talk about the time. We're going to talk about the moment. I'm going to sing a song or two here and there, now and then. And we're going to talk about the fact that this week is also a holy week normally. It is the Jewish holiday of Passover coming up this week. So we will be talking a little bit about that, Passover. And of course, tomorrow is Palm Sunday. I've got my palm all prepared for that. I'm not going to say too much about that. You know what I'm saying. But hopefully the webcam will be off when it comes time to Palm Sunday. But this week is Passover, darlings. So it's hard to believe it's come already. And who would have thought we'd be reliving Passover in ways we have not yet relived in our lifetime. For those of you who don't know, Goldie is of many persuasions, but one of the persuasions I have been in my life is the Jewish persuasion. I have found many Jews very persuasive, if you know what I'm saying, and I married several. They were very persuasive in the beginning. So there was a lot of honeymooning, if you know what I'm saying. Jews are honeymooners. That's a topic for another time, but Jews are very much honeymooners and very persuasive. So in the Jewish religion, Passover is a big deal. Mostly it's a big deal because we have to clean out the kitchen. And we don't like to clean the kitchen if we don't have to. If there's food around, we want the food around. And that applies to this time. If there is food in the cabinet, for God's sakes, eat the food. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to be clearing the food out for any reason. Now that we're all quarantined at home here, it's a real conundrum. It's a real conundrum that we're supposed to clear out the kitchen, anything that isn't kosher for Passover. But on the other hand, we want the food to be available when people get hungry because we are not going out to eat. That's for certain. And we're not going to our usual seders. Usually, the Passover seder is a special meal. It's a very long and involved ritual and has many edible items involved in the ritual. But we're going to have to wing it this year. We're going to have to do it from within the quarantine. You know what I'm saying? We used to do a lot of things within the canteen. Back in my USO days, we did that. But now we're doing it within the quarantine. I'm going to sing a little song just to start us off. I just want to say, everybody, welcome. Wherever you are, whoever you are, whether you know who you are or where you are, I still want to say welcome. Many blessings. And I want to invite everybody, wherever you are, to just try and get comfortable in your chair or in your barker lounger. Hopefully your barker lounger isn't barking at you right now. But make yourselves comfortable, settle in, and just take in a nice, gentle, full breath. Filling up the lungs. Thank God the lungs are working. And then just sigh it out. Just say, ah. And feel some of the pressures and the tensions just drift away. And just melt off the end of your arms when you are breathing in and sighing it out. And then if you want to get a little Jewy with me, we breathe it in and we sigh it out with an oi. Oi. Oy vey, that feels good. So this is one of those tunes. You're going to have to imagine tonight. You're going to have to work with me because, of course, we're in the studio, but we're the only ones here. As you can hear, it's very quiet. So the orchestra, you're going to have to imagine the orchestra swelling. Just picture a nice big orchestra and picture it swelling. You know what I'm saying? Every time I start to sing. Because normally, I'll be honest with you, I have that kind of effect on the orchestra. But we're going to all have to imagine it tonight because they're not here. So I'm going to sing it for you. I'm going to be kind of an a cappella fella tonight. So here's our first song of the evening, darlings. Quarantine and the karma is cooking all across the land. People sheltered at home. But don't just stray outside, 'cause it ain't disinfected. Just sing, little darlings, and don't you roam. One of these lifetimes, we're gonna wake up enlightened when we realize there is nowhere to hide. But if we take good care, then we needn't be frightened. Just open your eyes, dear, open them wide. So hurry home if you're not home already, 'cause your children are crying. They are crying 'cause there's light in their eyes. There's a light a-shining and the world's realigning. So swim, holy children, swim on high. Quarantine and the karma is cooking. There's a lot of layers to what's going on here. All the quiet skies, people sheltered at home. But don't you stray outside, 'cause it ain't disinfected. Just sing, little darlings, sing from home. That's what we have to do, darlings. It's quarantine time. And the karma is cooking. If you don't know what that means, karma Karma, of course, is a Hindu word, but it applies all the religions, and all the best organizations have their own version of karma. For me, karma means what goes around comes around. And let me tell you, I've been around. So I've seen it, darling. This, unfortunately, and yet there's a benefit, but unfortunately, this is not my first time at the rodeo, if you know what I'm saying. This is not my first plague, darlings. I lived through another plague back in the 80s. It was quite drastic and quite traumatic, and there was a tremendous amount of loss and pain and suffering and fear. It just wasn't quite spread throughout the entire culture the way it is now. But it was very serious. I'm talking, of course, about the AIDS crisis back in the 80s, where we lost many beautiful souls and many beautiful people. And especially if you lived in New York. New York was one of the epicenters. I don't know why. I've said this before. I don't know why New York has to be the center of everything. So we were the center of it back then, and we're the center of it again. We're the epicenter. So when you the epicenter of something, that means, you know, you see a lot. You see a lot of the downside, and you see a lot of the upside. And what is the upside of this whole situation? Well, it's bringing us together in new ways, in ways that we may not have gotten around to. Like right now, it's bringing us together to say, what the heck is going on here? And how are we going to get through it? We have to lighten it up however we can. If you have games that you play at home, if you're with your family, if you're with your friends, or if you're by yourself, quite honestly. Everybody is Zooming. There's a lot of Zooming going on. I think that's interesting that it's called Zooming, because we took all that frenetic activity that we did normally in the outside world. We were Zooming, quite honestly. Every day people were Zooming here and there. Now we've internalized it and virtualized it, and we're Zooming around on the internets. Thank God they're still working, and thank God we can communicate with each other. So I hope everybody is connecting with people they need to connect to, and I hope you're keeping yourself healthy. That means drinking a lot of water, hydrating your situation, watering the plants, and watering yourself. It's very important to do. If you're in the city, it's a different situation, you know, but you may not be able to get out into the plants and into nature that much, so you got to do it online. But I hope everybody is taking good care of themselves. I am hydrating more than I ever hydrated before. I couldn't tell you when I peed so much as I'm peeing now, darlings. It's quite a sight to see. But so far, so good. You know what I'm saying? So far, everything's flowing in the right direction. And I'm grateful for that. You got to be grateful for that. But I want to get back to talking to you about Passover, darling, since that's what this week is. This is kind of a pre-Passover powwow. So if you're Jewish, you know you've spent your life, most likely, whether you're Orthodox or conservative or liberal or Reform or Reconstructionist or recompensatory, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of different versions of Judaism going around. But you spent at least a day or two every year talking about Passover, the holiday of Passover. And I think for many of us, especially when you're younger, you question the relevance. Why are we spending all this time talking about living underneath a pharaoh, living in a land where there is a pharaonic ruler, a tyrannical ruler, who is profoundly self-centered and egotistical and thinks, you know, he's just the king of the pyramid. You know what I'm saying? That was what the pharaoh was. The pharaoh could do no wrong. And the pharaoh would say things like, we built the greatest pyramids you've ever seen. No one has ever built a pyramid like we build pyramids. Of course, that was even before they built any pyramids. They would say that kind of thing. But once they built them, then you really couldn't shut them up. So the Pharaoh was a tyrannical ruler, and he wouldn't free the Jews. He decided at some point to enslave the Jews because he just wanted more free labor. And in those days, you could get away with it. These days, you have to be a little more subtle about your tyranny. But in those days, they were enslaved. And then Pharaoh wouldn't free the Jews. And so what happened? There were plagues. So we would spend every holiday, you'd spend every Passover talking about the plagues. And again, you would say, what's the relevance? Who knew? Here we are this year. We've got a Pharaoh and we've got the plague. So we're prepared. I'm just saying, in a certain way, we're prepared. We have a whole service that we can perform. We have a whole menu. Even more importantly than the service, we have a menu. So when it comes time for Passover this week, I think there's going to be a lot of sharing of the menu, and it's going to be very beneficial to the population because we prepared for this. We've done the dry run. Do you know what I'm saying? And one of the things you do in the Passover Seder is you ask certain questions. So you're putting yourselves in the position of living in a time of plagues, and you're imagining that you're back in those times. This year, you don't have to imagine that you're back. You're there. We're there. Am I right? We're in a time of plagues. And we got a Pharaoh, let's be honest. I'm not trying to be flattering, but we basically have a Pharaoh who doesn't listen. There's one plague after the other, doesn't listen. You've got superstorm plagues this time around. We have superstorms coming fast and furiously, devastating many of the lands, devastating the islands, devastating Puerto Rico. The Pharaoh doesn't listen, pays no attention. Then you have wildfires. You have California burning. You have Australia burning. People are trying to say, we have to do something about this. No, the Pharaoh doesn't listen. And then, of course, you have this unfortunate plague, a pandemic flu coming out of China originally. And Pharaoh doesn't listen because the Pharaoh knows better. Who's going to tell the Pharaoh when the Pharaoh knows better? So one of the things you do at Passover is you put yourself in the position of saying, why is this Pharaoh so mashugana? And how are we going to break through that situation? What's it going to take to break it down and break through? Hopefully we're in that process. It seems to be like we're making some progress, not fast enough, but we are making progress. And thankfully, there are many other people around who are not Pharaonic, who have intelligence. And especially here in New York, I'm very grateful that our governor and some of our other leaders are much more intelligent and much more focused on solving the problems at hand, as opposed to being Pharaonic. You know, they're not thinking about their own situation. They're thinking about taking care of people. That's what we have to do. And there's, as you know, many beautiful things going on. We're seeing many mensches, a lot of mensches. I want to mention the mensches, if I may, because there are many of them. The doctors, the healthcare workers, and really all the people that help things run, the people that get us food, the people that get us from here to there, hither and yon, the people that clean up the garbage, people that clean up the hospitals. So many people. What we're seeing now, darlings, is what many of us have known all along, is that we are all important people. Everybody that helps society run is an important person. And everybody deserves to be taken care of in a good way, in a healthy way. We should all be mensches. So that's why I want to mention the mensches. And I want to remind you, darlings, that we all have to strengthen ourselves however we can and cope however we can. When the chips are down, eat some chips. That's partly what I do. When the chips are down, we eat some chips. So Passover is approaching. and I went out shopping a while ago, and I went to Trader Joe's. And going to Trader Joe's these days is reminding me of Passover, because you go into the store now, and it's like the parting of the aisles. They are really keeping everybody. Before, you would go in a big crowd. It's like everybody was rushing into the pyramid at one time. Now you go in there and they're keeping everybody separated. It's really like a parting of the waters. So I imagine it's like the Passover story when Moses led the Jews out of Egypt, of course. He took them, led them to the Red Sea. It looked impossible. It's like showing up at Trader Joe's now. It looks impossible. But then there were two pillars of fire that appeared. In this case, there are two people with disinfectants standing on either side of the doorway. So I see them as two pillars of disinfectant. And once you pass through the pillars, there's really a parting of the ways. And you cross over into, what is somewhat a minor version of the Promised Land, which is Trader Joe's. Because there they have what you need, including matzah. They have matzah right now at Trader Joe's. You go in there and you get your matzah. And they have many things that are kosher for Passover, so you can get that. But then, of course, some things you find out you're going to have to wait 40 years before the chocolate-covered almonds come back to Trader Joe's. They're just out of stock, and there's no end in sight. There was a run on chocolate-covered almonds, so you might have to wait 40 years before you get those back. But otherwise, you're grateful, because you got to go. You got to get your matzah. You got to get some food. And you made it to the other side, which is back home and safe and sound. So on Passover, we also want to ask 4 questions. The main question that you ask on Passover is, why is this night different from all other nights? And usually when you ask that question on Passover, everybody's sitting around kind of scratching themselves, going, I don't know. It's only different because we're like doing this, whatever this is. I think tonight we don't have to ask ourselves, why is tonight different from all of the nights? I hear sirens outside. I don't know if you hear the sirens, but that's happening a little bit here in the city. Some neighborhoods it's constant. So why is this night different from all other nights? I think we know. On all other nights, we go out to eat. Tonight, we're stuck at home, right? On all other nights, we go out to the cabaret. We go out to the theater. Tonight, we have to come online. We have to sit at the screen, and hopefully, everybody's behaving themselves. I hope you're all behaving yourselves. But you can ask yourself, why is this night different from all other night? Of course, the most important question you wind up asking at the Seder is, when do we eat? So that also is a recurring question. Now that we're quarantined here, I don't know about you, but that question comes up a lot during the day. When do we eat? You got to kind of time yourself. You have to give yourself a certain segmented schedule, so you know when it's time to eat again. And we recount the story of Passover, which is the Jews being liberated from Egypt, being taken into freedom. That's a good story to retell. It's good to remember that story because it makes us realize that we have to be humble and that there are people who are suffering in every age, and many times it's the Jews. And when we're fortunate enough that it's not the Jews, we really are supposed to really turn our attention elsewhere and help liberate the people who are not liberated. I'm just going to keep it simple, not going to get into a political discussion about it, but that is essentially what we're supposed to do. And there's another thing I wanted to mention to you about Passover, which is the 4 sons. They talk about the 4 children or the 4 sons who ask the question, there's a wise son, there's a wicked son, there's a simple son or child. Let's just say child, if we may. And then there's a don't ask. One of the kids is like, don't ask, don't tell. Some descriptions are of this particular child that they don't know how to ask the question. Each of these children are supposed to ask the question, one of the 4 questions. But some people describe it as a child who doesn't know how to ask. Other people call it the stupid child. But what's interesting about that is there's a deeper teaching or a broader teaching that says that we live in ages, we live in time periods that correspond to those four. We live through a time when there is wisdom at the helm, shall we say. We live through a time when there is wickedness at the helm. We live through a time where there is more simplicity at the helm. I'm saying at the helm repeatedly because it's a Passover term. And then there is a time when we live through a stupid period, I don't know what to say about this period. So I'm a little conflicted. I was trying to think about what epoch are we in right now. I heard it said a few years ago that we're in the epoch of the stupid son, and that would explain a lot of stupidity that's going on. Certainly a lot of things that happen in our life and in our world, in our nation, and in the broader world, a lot of things that seem pretty stupid that mankind is doing. But if it is the stupid epoch, then I would think what you want to do is try and cultivate the wisdom. You want to try and bring that in. You want to try and address it and not just say, oh, well, what's to do? So that is my prayer for Passover, is that whether this is, it seems like there's a little bit of wickedness going on right now too, but whether it's the wicked period or the stupid period, hey, it's America, darlings. So I want to sing you another song. Let's bring it back to a song, darlings. Normally we would be singing prayers and songs and some Jewish prayers, you know, but I'm going to sing a few songs. This one is a song that is translated from the ancient Aramaic, and it talks a little bit about the spiritual situation that we're in, and in a positive light, okay? So taking in a deep breath and oying it out. Yeah. Okay, this is called A Spiritual Wonderland. Cowbells are ring, are you listening? In the soul, love is glistening. A beautiful insight, we're happy tonight. We're meditating in a spiritual wonderland. We'll burn away all your karma, then we'll play with the Dharma. We'll do what we can to live with God's plan, zooming in a virtual wonderland. And in the meadow we can build an ashram and pretend that it is just a spa. We'll say, can you feel it? They'll say, no, man. But when the Kundalini rises, they'll say, ah. Woo. I've seen it happen many times, darlings. Later on, we will do yoga, lightly clad in a toga, to face unafraid the naked bodies God made on a webcam in a spiritual wonderland. I say we'll face unafraid the naked bodies God made on a webcam in a spiritual wonderland. It's a spiritual wonderland, darlings. In spite of all the bad news, it is a spiritual wonderland. You got to wonder. You really got to wonder. You got to ask a lot of questions. But don't despair. You have to, I think it's very important. Here's a good message, and it's very important to keep your energy light. Lighten it up however you can, darlings. Lighten up while you still can. That's another ancient teaching. Lighten it up, keep it light, keep it bright, and that positivity is good for the immune system, and it's good for the people who you're cooped up with too, quite honestly. It's good for the politics. It's good for the relations. It's good for the familial relations, and it's good for the romantic relations. It's good for the professional relations. It's really good for all relations to keep a positive energy, a positive vibration, all right? So if you have a positive vibration, you know, or a positive vibrator, whatever it is, the positivity is very important. I know that many of you, darlings, I know that many of you are stressed, from time to time because of the seriousness of the situation. But in all seriousness, it is very important to keep it light. Keep lightening it up, darlings. It doesn't mean you are ignoring reality. It means you are keeping the vibration light, because vibration is important. It affects things. It affects the mood, and it affects the food. And it might affect the jewelry falling off of your hand. You never know, you see? I just lightened up. I had a big, heavy chunk of a ring. There was a heavy story involved with that ring, and it just flew off my finger right at that very moment. That's confirmation, Baruch Hashem. Thank you, darlings. Let's see what else I want to tell you, darlings. Fabulosity is another very important thing. I want to talk about fabulosity, and I'm going to lead you on a very brief, I'm not even going to call it a meditation, but a very brief breathing and suggestion process. I make a lot of suggestions. I want to suggest that whenever you get a moment to sit, relax, breathe in, and enjoy, that you remember to breathe in that positivity. Breathe it in through the nose. Hopefully the nose is not clogged. And breathe it in through the nose, up through the kepi, up through the skull cap, and then down through the body, darling, through what some people call the chakra system. I like to call them the little balls of light. You know what I'm saying? So you want to breathe in through your little balls of light, all the way down the spine, into the belly. And just imagine yourself breathing in positivity, breathing in fabulosity. Okay, that's what I call it, fabulosity. You don't hear that word enough in the spiritual traditions or in the teachings, quite honestly. And that's part of my mission as a spiritual guide of sorts. When I'm playing mahjong, I try and channel that fabulous energy to all the people that I'm playing mahjong with. And you know who you are, all right? I'm going to give a little shout out right now to my mahjong mentor, the great Mama Lama, who taught me everything I know about flipping the tiles. You know what I'm saying? She taught me everything you need to know about the cracks and the bams, if you know what I'm saying. We don't talk about the winds. We try and keep the winds, passing to the side. But what you want to do is sit and center yourself and just see yourself breathing in that positivity and that fabulosity, and imagine that you are in a giant pillar, a giant fabulous pillar of light. And those pillars of light are something you can access. And as you breathe it in and exhale, just releasing whatever tensions you have in your body and your situation. You know what I'm saying? Breathing in fabulosity, breathing in light, and then breathing out, exhaling tension, exhaling the stress and the strain. Let yourself be renewed and replenished. It's very important, darling. Because, this pandemic is a drag. So, generally speaking, pandemics are a drag. I think it applies broadly. So that's why it's good to be in drag a little bit during this kind of time. I know people are having some trouble sleeping, so I think doing some good breathing. And while you're breathing, just let yourself move. Breathe in, let the body move a little bit. If you're having trouble, do a few push-ups before you go to sleep. If you're really just all mental, get yourself in the body. Do some push-ups. Open a pickle jar that's really hard to open. Like put some really good muscle into getting the pickle jar open. Anything that forces the blood down into the body, the rest of the body is good. I did a lot of it. I wasn't sleeping well, but then I did a lot of exercise. And I have to tell you, I've been sleeping like a baby, crying and wetting the bed. But, I'm sleeping, so I'm not going to complain. So you want to breathe in that fabulosity, be in that pillar of light, and let yourself be renewed, darlings. I will try and keep putting out maybe a little meditation, or maybe do a yoga class, do something that we can help channel that light for each other. There's a lot of it out there. There's a lot of good stuff. And I think it's a good time, darlings, for you to let yourself relax and let yourself be fabulous. And then you're home, you're stuck at home, you want to call on, whoever you can call on. You want to call on your people. You want to, if you are privileged and blessed enough, let's just say if you're blessed enough, we're not going to get into the whole privilege conversation. That's too political. Appropriate, but political. Let's just say we are blessed. Those of us who have a roof over our heads and have food to eat, thank God. Thank all the ones who help bring that about. Bless them all. Bless the ones who support us. Bless the ones who care for us. Our friends, our family, especially our family. Blessings to my beautiful family, all of them. They're spread out a little bit. You know what I'm saying? They're quarantined in many different locations. But I'm not going to say it was a strategic decision, but let's just say there are reasons. My beautiful family is quarantined a little bit here. Florida, of course, New York, we've got that covered. And then in between, we've got the mid-Atlantic covered. You know what I'm saying? Just like I got my midriff covered, we got the mid-Atlantic covered. But I want to say blessings and love, beautiful blessings and love to my beautiful family and to your beautiful family, whoever they are, wherever they may be. I want to say bless you, bless you, bless you. So we want to be grateful. And then if we're lucky enough to have our choice of food or have our choice of whatever, eat healthy, but also enjoy yourself. I was thinking about that. It's good to be aspirational, darlings. It's good to be grateful, number one, and then be aspirational. If there's something you want, you're not getting it, ask for it. It's okay to ask if it's within reason. I'm sipping some tea. I'm sipping some truth, darlings. We're sipping some truth tonight. You know what I'm saying. I got aspirational. Don't worry, it was all hygienic. And I thought of this song because this song makes me happy. And it's an embodiment of what I'm talking about, of just being lighthearted, but being aspirational. Take this time to reflect, just like we take the time of Passover to reflect. Now we all have an extended Passover in a sense. I assumed everybody knows the whole story, but when the plagues come, if you didn't know this, the plague of the firstborn, the angel of death was coming to Egypt and was going to take the firstborn son in any household with no regard to race, religion, gender. No, there was regard to gender, actually. That was a problem. Anyway, they were going to come and take the firstborn sons. So the Jewish people everyone was hunkered down in their houses, quarantined in a sense. And at the time, Moses was told that if the Jews would put the blood of the sacrificial lamb on their doorsteps, on their doorposts outside the door, just like right now, you have to put the tip outside the door for the delivery people. It was similar to that. Then the angel of death would pass by and wouldn't enter in. So similarly today, we put little signs. People in my building here putting little signs outside the door. And maybe I'm going to try a shank bone. Actually, that'll be my symbol to say, just put the food down, take the tip, and go back the way you came. Thank you, darling. But I wrote this song. It's aspirational. And it talks about, just a simple thing. Knish maker, make me a knish. Wrap it in dough, stuff it with fish. Knish maker, I'm stuck at home, so make me the perfect knish. Knish maker, you know the score. Please leave the bag outside the door. Knish maker, I'm hangry-ish. So make me a giant knish. For Mama, make sweet potato. For Papa, make it broccoli and cheese. For me, well, I wouldn't kniption if you rolled in sushi like Japanese. Knish maker, bring me a knish. Be sure to ring if I'm taking a pish. Knish maker, I'll wait for you. So grant me one wish. Throw me one bone, make it delish. Deliver the perfect knish. There it is. You want the knish maker to bring you a perfect knish, darling. And however that resonates with you, I respect it. We all have our own knish, you know what I'm saying? So, bless you, darlings. Bless you, bless you. I don't know if anybody has anything they want to say or say hello. I don't know. Unable to chat here. I'm going to say something and see if anybody's chatting. Shalom, people. See if that works. I don't know if it's on, darlings. If it's not on, forgive me. I don't think it's working here. It's all very self-reflective right now. It's just saying Goldie Goldstein. Goldie Goldstein. I know my name. Thank you very much. This is a new studio here, new studio situation. I don't know why it says unable to connect to chat. Please try again later. That's not really the message you want to see in the middle of a live stream. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, isn't that also reflective of what we're all going through, right? You would like to reach out and touch somebody's hand. See, there are songs like that you just can't sing anymore. That's happening right now. I want to hold your hand. Don't sing it, okay? Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Don't sing it, darlings. Just to be close to you, torture, okay? You have to be very careful now. We have to be more conscious and more deliberate in what we articulate, in what songs we sing. You got to sing songs that are going to be possible, all right? Make me a knish. That's not asking for too much. Simple, food-related songs are all good, darlings. So I apologize, darlings. I apologize profusely for the technological disruption. This is a disruptive situation. I imagine, if I was going to try and imagine, I'm just going to feel it out for a second. I imagine that people are feeling very acutely that sensation of not being able to connect in the way that we're used to connecting. We're really used to being face to face, right? We're used to being in proximity. You know, we're not used to being at a distance. Isn't there a song, At a Distance, From a Distance? Yeah, there is a song. Maybe that's a good one, Bette Midler. And we're not able to do that right now. So what can we do? I think we're lucky to have this technological stuff. I don't always feel that way, but right now it's a blessing to be able to come on and do the live stream. You know what I'm saying? So connecting that way is good. And also we have to learn to self-soothe, all right? You have to be a self-soother. And if you haven't practiced before, it's a good thing to know how to do, quite honestly. It's a good thing to know how to do. So then you're not always reliant on other people to be a soother. I have several people that I find to be very soothing, and it's always a delight. It's a great joy and a delight. It's nachas when I'm able to be with those people in person. But when you're not able to be there in person, it requires you have to go back to self-soothing. You know what I'm saying? So that is important. I imagine everybody's feeling that. And I just want to say, I'm giving you all a big hug right now, darlings. I mean, assuming it's okay with you, of course. With your permission, by your leave, I am giving you all a big hug. A very warm and cozy hug. I love you. sincerely. I truly do. I bless you. I want you all to stay healthy, stay alert, and take it easy on yourselves. Be forgiving of yourselves. And really, this is a time of reflection. This is a time of profound reflection on what's important and what's important in our lives and what's important for the world, darling, and for the planet. I am hopeful that when we get through this situation, we will be living in a more conscious, a more loving, a more conscientious way than we have been living. I am hoping maybe this is a transition point, this pandemic. It's very pandemical, you know. Maybe this is a transition out of the stupid sun period. You know what I'm saying? And into the wise or into the simple. I think we need some wisdom first. But simplicity is wisdom. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's a simple thing to say, but I think there's wisdom in it. Bless yourselves, darlings. Bless yourselves. Bless your bodies. Just like there are 4 suns in Passover, that correlates. I'm going to get metaphysical for just a moment. Take it or leave it. Some people think it's woo-woo. I call it frou-frou woo-woo. Goldie Goldstein, that's frou-frou woo-woo if you're taking notes. Just like there are 4 suns, darling, we really have 4 bodies, 4 vehicles. This comes from the Kabbalah. This comes from, not the cobbler, the Kabbalah. This comes from Hindu teachings, yoga teachings, that we have 4 different sheaths or vehicles. Our emotional vehicle, that's where all our emotional energy lives, and they're all concurrent. They're all occupying a similar quantum neighborhood, if I may. You have the emotional, you have the physical, all the cells and atoms in our beautiful physical vehicle. Then you have the mental, and you know you have the mental. You know who I'm talking about right now, darling. I'm looking at you. Bless it, don't possess it, okay? Or bless it, don't stress it, I'm going to say, for this situation. And then you have what's called the etheric vehicle. That's where all our dreams live. That's where all our more spiritual energies percolate. There's a lot of percolation in this situation. So just like the 4 different suns, you see, there's 4 vehicles. So you can bless them all, darlings, and understand that you have a broader perspective, a bigger perspective, a higher self, as it were. On the tree of life, there are many branches higher up in the tree. You know, that's when, see, when the hands go off screen, that means we're higher up in the tree of life. And you can bless those things. You can bless them, bless yourself, bless your body, and bless the people around you. And if you know anybody, please, if you know anybody who's suffering from this pandemic, send them your most positive and loving energy. Try and send them the most positive, encouraging, beautiful energy you can. That will help. We live in a quantum field, darling. I know it's Queens, really. It is Queens. And simultaneously, it is also a quantum field. So we may appear to be quarantined. On the other hand, in a quantum sense, there is no quarantine, darlings. All right, that got deep. Listen, I'm going to close it. I'm going to close our beautiful stream tonight. Thank you so much and bless you for coming. I bless each and every one of you for being here. And for those of you who are viewing it at a later date, really you're viewing it right now. When you are looking at it, it's now. You see, that's the thing about time. It's a quantum thing also. I am saying this in the now that I'm in now, but you will be seeing it in the now that you're in then. So now and then, stuff like this happens. So here's another song I just wrote today, about half an hour ago, honestly. I'm going to see how it goes, darling. I think it sums up and it speaks to, if I may, the condition that we're all dealing with right now in terms of that longing that we feel, the longing for connection. Look how valuable that is. Even the most curmudgeonly among us, or shall I say, amongst us, thrive on certain interaction and connectivity. Even the grumpiest people, they thrive on the connectivity and the interaction. Hopefully all those sweethearts will come out less grumpy. Here's the song, darlings. Again, imagine the orchestra swelling, because that's a swell thing to imagine. I'm not sure what the key would be, but you know, this is home studio time. You know what I'm saying? It'll sound much better when I finally get my musicians back in proximity, okay? But for now, I'm blessing them all, sincerely, and I'm imagining that they're here. Uncaressable, that's what you are. Uncaressable, a northern star. Like a piece of fruit that hangs too high. A gorgeous suit that merely passes by. Never before has someone been more uncaressable. Now every day. Unaccessible, 6 feet away. How long, darlings? It's unexpressible to live with someone uncaressable. It's made me hyper-stressable too. That went very low, darlings, but you know, hyper-stressable, darlings. Thank you, darlings. Bless you, bless you, bless you. Goldie Goldstein here in the fabulousness. Please reach out. Feel free to reach out and touch somebody. No, don't reach out and touch somebody. Reach out and tweet somebody or reach out and post. I will answer your questions. If you have questions, send them to me. Please do. We'll figure out the live chat. It was working last time. It's not working this time. Who knew? It was meant to be. So you don't have to worry about asking the right question. Sincerely, I love you. I bless you. And stay safe, stay home, be at peace, and send your positivity and your fabulosity. You've heard of Travelocity, right? They shut that down. I've opened up Fabulosity, darlings. So if you need to, we're going to set up the website, fabulosity.com, where you'll be able to go and book yourselves into some fabulous expression or other. So listen, be fabulous. Have a happy Passover for those of you who are observing the rituals. And I will see you next week, same time, same bat channel. And it'll be almost Easter. We'll be in the midst of Passover, so maybe we'll do a little bit more religiosity. Thank you, darlings. Bless you. Goldie Goldstein, alive in New York. Who knew? You know what I'm saying.